Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Girl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Yes, I went on vacation. I needed some time to chill, y'all. I know it's been almost a whole month since I've been on the air. No worries, though. We're going to kick the show off right. But before I bring on my guest tonight, there are a couple of things that happened in the news. No, I'm not talking about the Orange Menace, who happens to share a birthday with me. No. I'm not talking about that clown. See, yes, we are both June 14th Geminis, but I use my powers for good. I'm not trying to be self-serving. I'm trying to help elevate all of us in this civic engagement world. I'm not stealing top secret documents, so I'm not talking about that guy. But a federal judge hears bid to block Indiana's ban on gender-affirming care. The Indianapolis Star reports an attorney arguing in federal court Wednesday says Indiana's ban on transgender medical treatment for children and teens tramples on their rights and the rights of their parents. The American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana is asking a judge in Indianapolis for a preliminary injunction that would stop the law from taking effect July 1st. The group's attorney called the law a clear violation of parental rights. A lawyer for the state said the legislature had the authority to decide children shouldn't be a part of what he called the grand experiment. The judge made no immediate rulings after Wednesday's hearing. You know, I find it interesting that the attorney for the state says that, you know, they have the right, the authority to decide that children shouldn't be a part of the grand experiment. But it seems like they're conducting their own grand experiment. You know, how many bullets can a kid dodge while they're in school? Huh? How many times can you go to the mall and not have to worry about getting shot? Because we already know that firearms are the leading cause of death for children. I mean, I ain't seen a transgender person harm nobody, not like that. Not on a regular basis. There might be somebody out there that's a little violent. I don't know. But we do know for certain that children in almost all 50 states have been harmed by firearms. Now, parental rights seems to be the tone of our state house when it comes to, I don't know, teaching Black history. You know, oh, my kid, if a parent says they don't want their kid to learn that, you know, Black folks were more than just slaves and that we were actually scientists, doctors, and despite, you know, systemic racism, we were able to rise above. If a parent doesn't want to hear that, the state says the parent has the right. So the parent has the right to tell you what your child can have and read and see, because they're banning books now, too. Right. But now you want to take away a parent's right to provide medical care, gender-affirming care. And gender-affirming care doesn't necessarily mean surgery or puberty blockers. It could be socializing differently by changing their name and assuming a different pronoun or dressing differently. It doesn't even have to be about what they put in their body or what happens to their body. But because simple-minded people don't understand the nuances of gender-affirming care, they only know what they've been told by some knucklehead who only believes that there are only two genders. I'm sorry. Go look it up. There are more. I know it blows y'all's mind sometimes. There are more. But parental rights, they go through counseling. They go through psychiatric care, psychological care. They do all of these things before they make the decision to do anything to their bodies. But now they're taking that away. Not to mention, we also have intersex folks who do receive gender-affirming care who are no longer able to do that, who do it to normalize themselves. See, unintended consequences from idiots who think they know more about gender than science. And y'all, I know y'all keep asking me. Y'all been asking me. I got some news for you. I'm just going to read what the Indianapolis Star puts out. Okay. Former state representative Mark Carmichael announced Monday he will file for the Democratic primary to replace U.S. Senator Mike Braun. Carmichael, 73, is the first Democrat to announce a bid for the seat in 2024. He says we deserve better than to be represented by someone as mean-spirited, blindly partisan, and out of touch with the majority of Hoosiers as Jim Banks. His attacks on innocent LGBTQ plus children for purely political gain are disgusting, and his vote against certifying the Biden election and dishonest rhetoric on Fox News after the election helped lead to the riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. So real talk, I don't know who he is, but he's saying the right thing in his press release. So you know me, I'll try to find him next year because, you know, it's municipal year. I will do my best to see if I can find him and get him online. I will do everything I can. But in the meantime, y'all, I don't want to say stay woke because they have, you know, occupied that word. Stay aware of what's going on around the world. Stay aware of what's happening in your state house and stay aware of what's happening in our courts, because our courts are not, they don't end. They go all year round, okay? So find out what's happening, stay on top so that you can be aware. And as always, I get so excited. Bohm's Unique Boutique is my sponsor. Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. I love it. And I cannot thank the Bohms up in District 3 for everything. We were up there last Thursday for the show, had a chance to interview a whole bunch of candidates who are running for office up in District 3, Allen County and all the counties in District 3. They are really doing amazing work up there. They always make sure they fill their slate in Huntington County, even in small counties where people don't think Democrats are, they fill the slate. So y'all, if you're not supporting our Democrats, you're missing out. And if you want to know how to be a great district chair, see Christine Bohm. She's a Jersey girl. She don't play. But if you are a candidate and you need some resources, some technical resources, some audio, video, that 30, 60, 90-second ad, feel free to reach out to Black Pearl IT Solutions. We have everything you need. We can create. Now, listen, I don't have drones. I don't do drones, but I do have some nice backdrops, and we can shoot it, edit it, and get you out there so that you can share your message with the people. And the beautiful part about the work that I do, I'm not in this to make money. I'm in this to elect more Democrats. So my fee structure is very, very, very reasonable. So holla at your girls, scan the QR code, and let's talk about how we can help you with your campaign. All right. Y'all know I get excited when it's Hoosier Women Forward week on Turn Left. I don't know of another organization that is so committed to making sure we have hundreds, if not thousands, of women across our state ready to lead. On our show tonight, the executive director of Hoosier Women Forward, Amy Levander, and her trusty other Amy sidekick. I say that in love because she ain't nobody's sidekick. Program director, Amy Schwartz. Welcome to the show, Amy's.
Thank you, Dana.
Thanks, Dana.
So talk about it. You guys wanted to come and talk about Hoosier Women Forward. Why is this week so important that we discuss Hoosier Women Forward?
We are less than 1 week from the deadline for applications for Class 6. And so we want to make sure that all Democrat women leaders over the age of 25 know that the application season is open, that they'll consider applying to become part of this amazing statewide network of engaged women leaders around the state.
I love it. I love it. And for those who are interested in applying and or donating to Hoosier Women Forward, the link is right there in the Facebook page, right there. So click on it. Every woman that's listening, you need to go ahead and apply. So talk about the program and how does this actually help prepare women to be leaders in our state?
Yeah, sure. So Hoosier Women Forward is a women's civic and political leadership program. So it's important to note we are not a candidate training program. There are a lot of organizations doing amazing work out there that's really more focused on that. What we really focus on is the journey for women leaders to help them really bring forth and bring to the surface the qualities we already know they have. By virtue of being in the program, they've already shown leadership qualities in their communities And what we want to do is help them to find that confidence, to know that the time is right for them to do whatever it is that they have their sights set on as a goal. We have about a third of the women who come through our program run for office. About another third engage in the political party or campaign structure, meaning they're in positions of leadership in county or district parties or work for individual campaigns. And then another third who are leaders in the philanthropic and corporate communities and take the skills that they learn and enhance really through our 10-month leadership program back to their own communities to seek that promotion, to go serve on that board or engage in various ways in their communities. Amy, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, we are here, Hoosier Women Forward is here as a program to really help people discover what their own goals are and then build a network of women around you to help meet whatever goal it is. So there's no one path or one way to be successful through Hoosier Women Forward. It's finding what you want to do in your community and then giving you the network of people to help you get that done.
I love it. And so
That's great.
This is class 6. I mean, can I ask you guys, when we were all sitting in that conference room, did we ever think that did we imagine we would have so many amazing women coming through this program?
We certainly hoped that they would come out and step forward and raise their hands, and they sure have.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about Cynthia Johnson, who is the 5th district chair. You know, she talks about how she never thought that she would be in a position or was qualified to be in the position of leading an entire district. She went through your program and she felt empowered. Tell us more about some of those stories that you guys are receiving from the alumni.
Yeah, it's, I think the most impactful and powerful thing that Amy and I see is when we get a note, and we get them regularly from either current class participants or alumni that say, I just want to let you know that without Hoosier Women Forward, I probably wouldn't have stepped into that and filed for political office or pursued that promotion. But because of the confidence, the network, the skills I know I have, I realized I was ready and I was qualified and I was going to do it. And that to me just speaks volumes to the quality of the applicants that we have and the quality of the programming that we provide. And so it's, communications, it's talking about raising money, not just as a candidate, but, for any woman in a leadership position. You're going to be on a board or you're going to be serving an organization and you're going to need to raise money. And that's one of the things that I think women don't do as well, only because they don't know how to do it, I think more so. And once you start, you have a strategy and a plan for engagement. It's not this scary thing, but really a manageable effort. And so through some of that skills development, I think really we watch these women come into their own. The other thing that I think is really unique is that we look at it as each class day is really that time for an individual to come in for 6.5 hours for a program day, put their phones down, leave their family obligations at the door, leave their work obligations at the door, and really to focus on themselves to say, what is it that I see myself doing in the next, 6 months, 6 years down the road, and what are some steps I can start to put into place to get on that path to achieve them.
I love it. Now, okay, not every woman is getting in. How many applications do you guys get every year?
Well, I will say that it's a very competitive process and that for many of our class members, they have applied more than once before they get into the program. So if you don't get in, it's not because we don't love you and we want you to come back and apply again. It's just the virtue of the competitive nature and the small number of spots that we have open in any class year.
I love it. One of the things that you guys are intentional about is diversity. And I don't mean just diversity of race and ethnicity, but there's also a diversity of geography. Talk about why that is so important to the program.
Yeah. The Democrat Party is a big tent. We've got rural, we've got urban. We have a lot of commonality of interests and issues that we're all addressing. but in each area, those issues manifest themselves in different ways locally. And so it's really important for us, like with any program, we don't want just a bunch of people from Central Indiana because we know our state's bigger. And so to win statewide, we have to cultivate and engage people from, outstate, as we call it here in Central Indiana, to make sure that we understand the issues they're seeing in their communities and the solutions that they're bringing to their communities so that we can work collaboratively together to sort of find a path forward. Amy, you want to add anything?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that's been so exciting recently is, because we've had more and more classes come through, we're starting to kind of get critical mass in areas that aren't Indianapolis. So we're getting, some of the smaller cities in Indiana, we're starting to have, 8, 10, 12 women, and they're connecting and finding each other, even if they weren't in the same program year, and they're building things together in their communities, using that strength of being connected from Hoosier Women Forward. So it's really exciting to see things kind of start to bubble to the surface.
That is really exciting because, again, people always feel like they're in a silo and they're all alone and that we're not connected. And now you guys are literally crafting and creating a leadership network to move Indiana forward. Give us a little idea of some of the program days without going in, you don't have to give everything, but so what happens in a program day?
Well, we usually have a general topic or learning objectives we want to get out of a day. For instance, again, we do a communications day that's really everything from social media to media relations to building your own brand and sustaining that through social network engagement. And so we try to have guest speakers come in, but then we've also tried to be really thoughtful about adding in class time. So either through activities that allow the class to engage with each other or through some social time throughout the day, because we also, as important as the learning is, it's also that connectivity of the classmates. And so we always want feedback from our classes. So we have an evaluation every class period. And so we always hear we want more time to engage with each other. And so we've pivoted a little bit of our programming to try to be more intentional about that so that you're getting sort of a good mix of both of those things, recognizing that 6.5 hours goes really fast when you've got a big pool of amazing speakers to pick from on any topic.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, go ahead and dangle that one carrot that at the end of the year. Where do y'all go?
We may or may not go to Washington, D.C. for 3 days.
Uh-oh. I was the carrot. Okay. Well, skip that part. Oops.
Oh.
My bad. But there is one. We ask women to apply, but talk about what their time requirements are so they know how much they have to give.
So it's one class day a month, starting in August. And then we do not meet in November due to the election cycles. It's a really busy time for everybody. And then we do culminate with a 3-day trip in April to DC, and then a final last program day in May where we have a graduation ceremony and celebration at the end of that class day.
All right. So, guys, this is a great opportunity, but I think it's important for you to know exactly what is expected of you. You have to show up. You don't just,
That's right.
the applicant. Tell them about the application process so they know how it works so they can fill it all out.
Yeah. So if you go to HoosierWomenForward.org/apply, you'll see all the requirements there. There is a little form to fill out, and then we ask for a couple of community sponsor references as well. And where to send all that information is included on the website. And then our amazing board members spend the summer looking at those applications, making some really difficult decisions just because there's only so many spots we have every year. And then typically right at the beginning of August, we announce our new group of people.
I love it. Now, okay, the one thing about this organization, I think everyone needs to understand, the women who go through this program become winners. If they run for office, they pretty much have a good chance of winning. If they run for a district chair, county chair role, they usually win because these women are now prepared to be leaders. Guys, go ahead and give us one last pitch. I'm not going to hold y'all on. I get excited about Hoosier Women Forward. I love it. I am here for it every year. So give that last pitch.
Yeah, so we, if you'd like to become a part of this, a network of over 100 women statewide, we've got 111 alumni, and we'll be recruiting and selecting our next class of up to 24 women to really engage and change the face of not only Indiana politics, but of Indiana leadership structures in both the philanthropic and corporate arenas. We are your gals, and this program is for you. We one of the unique things one of our alumni said the other day is when you walk in, it's not a competition, but it is a collaborative team environment. And so we welcome everyone to be there. Everyone's rooting for your success. We support and lift up each other in your successes that you have, not only when you come into the program, but as you continue through the program and into the future. And as Dana said, you know, like we're winners. We have over 70% of our women who have stepped up and run for office have won. And that's in both red and blue states, or
cities,
red and blue
counties.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And one other little thing is you may or may not get the opportunity to spend some time with Dana Black during our program year. She's always one of our highest rated speakers that we have. And so you don't want to miss your opportunity to get the real Dana Black, Indiana's own.
That is so sweet. Y'all, click on the link. Apply. Even if you don't want to apply, donate, because it does take money to create and cultivate this organization. So please consider giving a couple of dollars or something. A little bit goes a long way. And I promise you, if you decide to apply, your life will change for the better, because we are moving Indiana forward one class at a time. All right, Amy's, you are free. You are free to go and enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much for sharing with the Turn Left listeners everything that Hoosier Women Forward is doing. I'm so proud that I get to collaborate and work with you guys. You guys motivate me to be better every day. So thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you, Dana.
All right, take
Have a
care,
great
guys.
evening.
Take care.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I love it, love it. Now, guys, you got to get signed up. You got to do the thing. But definitely, if you are a woman who is interested in being in a leadership role, you're interested in doing some things differently in your community, and you're not really sure how to begin, just sign up for Hoosier Women Forward. You'll get going in the right direction. And since we're talking about empowering women, so I remember the first time I had a chance to meet her in person, and she just blew me away because I was already a groupie from reading her blog posts. She does not hold back. I'm going to read just a brief little bit of her bio because I want you guys to understand the significance of the individual that I am bringing on right now. Sheila Kennedy is an emeritus professor of law and public policy at the School of Public and Environmental Affairs at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. Until her retirement in December of 2020, she was a faculty fellow with both the Center of Religion and American Culture and the Tobias Center for Leadership Excellence, and an adjunct professor of political science and founder of the Center for Civic Literacy at IUPUI. Professor Kennedy holds a BS from Indiana University and received her JD with honors from IU in 1975, where she was managing editor of the Indiana Law Review. She practiced real estate, administrative, and business law in Indianapolis, first at Baker and Daniels, and later as a partner at Mears, Crawford, Kennedy, and Eccles, and I probably said that wrong, and served as corporation counsel for the city of Indianapolis from 1977 to 1980. Y'all, when I tell you we talking to a for real homegrown legend, someone who's cut her teeth and ain't afraid to say it, y'all give it up to my next guest. And we're going to talk about her book, but let's get to know who she is first. Y'all give it up for Sheila Kennedy. Welcome to the show, Miss Sheila.
Thank you so much for all that kind words. There are those who would not have been so kind.
Honey, we don't worry about them. See, over here on Turn Left, it's all about love. We start with love. If you start with love, everything else will turn out all right. Well, Sheila, I read a little bit about your education and some of your career, but tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, I am an Indiana person, born and bred. I was born in Indianapolis, raised in Anderson, came back to Indianapolis after college, and as you pointed out, went to IU Law School. I've been here. I was corporation counsel back when I was a Republican, and I was a Republican when Republicans were still sane, which is a while back now. I became a Democrat in 2000 because, well, you all know why.
Yeah, we know what happened.
And
some trauma we don't have to relive.
That's right. And I for 6 years, I ran the Indiana affiliate of the ACLU.
Oh.
And then I went to the university, and for 22 years, I taught law and public policy and media and public affairs.
And so I'm glad that you mentioned that you were a former Republican, because right now, as Democrats, we have a former Republican on the ballot, or looking to be on the ballot in 2024 to represent Democrats for governor, and that's Jennifer McCormick. Talk to us as Democrats on how we need to learn to embrace her as a Democrat since she switched parties. I think that's an important conversation.
I think it's important, and I have not met her personally. I have really, really admired her. I admired her when she was the education person, still a Republican, and I particularly admired her when she stood up to our crazy legislature and said, you're not doing the right thing by the students in our state, which is one of my hot button issues, and I will apologize in advance for tomorrow's post about that. But there are two kinds of people who are in political parties, Dana. There are the people who choose a team, view the whole thing as if it's football or baseball or whatever, and my team, right or wrong. I've never been that kind of a person. I can tell that Jennifer McCormick is not that kind of person. And there are a lot of former Republicans in this town right now. My husband and I met in a Republican administration. We stood still philosophically. I got to tell you, when I ran for Congress as a Republican in 1980 and lost to Andy Jacobs by not a lot, but I lost. People came up to me afterward and said, well, Sheila, you're just so conservative. I have stood still, and I am now a communist because the world has changed. And what was a responsible political party no longer exists. It is now a white nationalist cult, and it scares me to death.
Wow.
And I will tell you, because I'm a very old woman,
seasoned.
Seasoned.
Seasoned. Yeah. Especially with all that salt and pepper, baby. We call it seasoning now.
I like that. I'm gonna adopt that. But the people I worked with when I was a Republican are all voting Democrat now.
Wow.
I mean, we sit there and look at each other and say, what happened to the adult party, whether you agreed with it, in terms of policy or not? It's really frightening right now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talk about, I am so glad that I came after the two Amy's, because this book.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
I want to talk about the argument. Basically, it's a little book. It's 80 pages. Buy it. It's easy to read. The argument is that women are going to save this country. And that's why being on with the two Amy's seems to me to be so appropriate, because with the advent of the Dobbs decision, all of a sudden, in my view, all politics has changed. The last chapter in this book is titled "When Mama Ain't Happy, Ain't Nobody Happy."
Baby.
And I am absolutely convinced that, let me back up a minute. For years and years, the right wing that wanted to make sure that, that tried to overrule Roe v. Wade, they were single issue voters. Nothing else mattered. They were going to vote on the basis of abortion. Meanwhile, Democrats, liberals, and at one time, Republicans for Choice, which was a group I was in back when there were Republicans for Choice. We said, well, we've got Roe v. Wade. We're going to always be able to access reproductive choice. And we really care about the environment, and we care about this, gay rights, whatever. So we were not one issue voters. I think that all changed with Dobbs. Let me tell you a little bit about what led to this book. My friend Morton Marcus came to me. This was before Dobbs came down. He came to me and he said, I would like to write a book with you about women's progress. And Morton, for those of you who know him, bathes in data. I mean, he's an economist. His interest was to see how technology and other kinds of innovations had allowed women to escape what was actually the status of property. Because that's what the book is called, From Property to Partner.
Okay.
Because women were essentially the property of their husbands or fathers. And his interest was, okay, now you've got washing machines and sewing machines, and this allowed women to get out of the house. And then in our initial conversations, I pointed out that the most important innovation was the pill. Because without the ability of a woman to control her own reproduction, she cannot become a political actor. She cannot become an economic actor. She is stuck in that property, status.
Right.
So that was always going to be part of our story. But then Dobbs came down.
Yeah.
And the focus of the book changed a bit, because what we did was examine the effect on American women of this has never happened before, when a constitutional right that was part of the structure of society 50 some years is suddenly withdrawn. That has never happened before.
Right.
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, the Dobbs decision definitely reversed a lot of things, but I think this particular Supreme Court has actually been trending that way, because they kind of gutted the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act so that at the same time that they were giving us gay folks the right to marry, they were saying that the states could go ahead and gerrymander the hell out of their districts and carve out, exceptions so that they can reduce the impact of the black vote. So, but Dobbs was okay, we just gonna go all in, even after they lied and said that they weren't gonna do that. That's, I think, the part that is most painful, is that y'all lied.
Well, and those in the gay community who don't think they're next need to realize that the people who are on that court today are not the people who said that the Constitution requires the gay marriage.
Absolutely.
Same-sex marriage.
Absolutely.
The shift to an ideological right wing has been really stunning. And there are all sorts of things that this court is doing that are, in my view, anti-environment, anti-gay, anti-woman. And, it is really, we're at what I like to call a pivot point in American democracy. And you mentioned gerrymandering, which is one of my other hot buttons. I mean, for the court to say that they did not have the right to interfere and say that gerrymandering was unconstitutional was simply dishonest.
Absolutely.
And what it does, of course, is make it much harder for Democrats. Most cities in this country, I believe that it's over 500,000, are deep blue. Rural areas are red.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only reason we don't have a hot civil war right now, I think, is because geographically it's kind of hard.
Absolutely.
But between the gerrymandering and now control of the court by an ideologically rigid right-wing cabal, we're at an inflection point.
Absolutely.
And I think women have to get, and what we've seen is that every time a state has had the opportunity on the ballot to affirm women's autonomy, even in Kentucky and Kansas, that has happened.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, in Indiana, the only people who are able to have any effect on gerrymandering are the people who benefit from it.
Absolutely.
So we are, if you will excuse the expression, screwed.
Absolutely.
We need a national, the bills that have not passed, John Lewis's bill, would outlaw gerrymandering, would have been, that's what Indiana needs.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, women have to go to the polls and vote out these men who are so terrified to what we've got old white Christian guys who look at Black people, look at women, look at gay people and say, well, this, that's not the world I was promised.
Exactly.
And they are using all of the mechanisms that exist in order to turn back the clock.
Absolutely. Indiana's own Dana Black. We are talking to Sheila Kennedy, the co-author of From Property to Partner, Women's Progress and Political Resistance. You have a lawyer's mind, and we were talking about the Supreme Court. We're talking about one of the things that we would, in order for us to be able to vote on women's reproductive rights in Indiana like they did in Kansas, is to have an Indiana constitutional amendment, which we know that's never going to happen. Talk about how it's not just that we show up to vote, but that we need to talk to these lawmakers and stay in their faces and then hold them accountable, not just in the state house here in Indianapolis, but sometimes we got to show up in the district that they live in.
Yeah, right now, I think it's safe to say that Republicans at every level, municipal, state, and national, are, among other things, anti-choice. But you say I have a lawyer's mind. There is a doctrine that was first really enunciated back 1967 called substantive due process. And what that really means, that sounds very jargony and lawyerly. Substantive due process is recognition that there are things that the government ought not do. In other words, that there is a line that has been drawn essentially by the Bill of Rights that puts a barrier between decisions that are properly left to individuals and decisions that are proper for government. I will tell you that the most hypocritical thing I could think of was all of these, well, I'll watch my language. All of the people.
I love it. I love the energy, and bring it.
Well, these assholes who didn't want to wear masks and
Right.
said government was exceeding its authority to have them,
Sheila, on that one, when everybody was cool with wearing masks until they found out who was disproportionately impacted by the disease and who was dying from it. And once they realized there was more brown and black people, simply because they were the folks who were more typically in those essential roles where they had to be out, and they had a little bit lower income, and maybe they didn't have the insurance, because heck, we even had a doctor who was a whole doctor was begging these people for care, and they weren't listening to her. But once they found out who was actually dying, everything changed. Everything went from, the science of it to, oh, it ain't us, so we ain't got to worry about it.
But getting back, legally, we expect government to keep us safe.
Yes.
If you are acting, or I am acting, in a way that is harming someone else, then it is appropriate for government to come in and say, no, you shouldn't do that. When I am deciding who I want to marry or how many children I have, I'm not harming anybody else. And the government should butt out at that point. That's what substantive due process really meant, that there are decisions that I used to, in my classes, I would teach my students that the Bill of Rights is really a list of things that government can't do. The question with abortion isn't whether people should abort or not. It's who should be making that decision. And under 57 years of jurisprudence, the court had always said, that's not a decision for the government to make. That's a decision for women and their significant others and their doctors. But then the same people who say, oh no, government has a right to come into your uterus, those people, but government doesn't have a right to make me wear a mask.
Or take my gun, or take my AR-15.
Don't even go with the gun.
I can go there. I'm telling you, Sheila, let's do this. This is a joy for me to have you on the show, because you are a wealth of knowledge that if people who don't follow you and don't know who you are, they're missing a gem.
Thank you.
You were around, very conscious pre-Roe v. Wade. Now you are here post Dobbs. As a woman who is very seasoned and has enjoyed a really good, a decent life. I don't know, I don't know, just because you have a law degree don't mean you have a great life, but you've had a wonderful life, right?
Yes.
What has the transition been like to go from, okay, it's completely illegal, it's legal, to now Dobbs? How does that emotion set with you?
I will tell you that when I was in high school, I knew girls who died from coat hanger abortions. When people say Dobbs does not get rid of abortion, what it does is get rid of safe, medically appropriate abortion. That's what happens. Back alleys will come again. The Dobbs decision, in a very strange way, I think it energizes me, because what it does is make very clear what half of America, the women's half, is facing. Mm-hmm. And, it was so easy during the time that the court was right. It was so easy to not engage with the underlying reasons that women's bodily autonomy is so important. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, a lot of people for whom this was not a front burner issue have wakened up. So my argument is we're going to get this country back online, and it's going to be women who do it.
Absolutely. I was literally watching Morning Joe the other day, and Katty K has a new book out as well, talking about how basically women are less likely to be corrupted as our male counterparts. And so if you want to get corruption out, you need more women. But let's focus in on this book, because now everybody, if you want the book, again, the link is right there. You can go ahead. First of all, you should be following her. Follow her blog because she's amazing. But go ahead and get the book. I am actually going to purchase the book so that I can have it and read it. I just didn't get a chance to this time. I was on vacation.
Vacations are important.
And now if I had bought it, my partner Nicole would have read it in like 15 minutes. She reads books like people breathe. So I should have gotten it and had to give me the Cliff Notes. But let's talk about your book. First, this is not your first book. I see you have quite a few items on your book list.
Yeah, this is my 10th book.
Wow.
And I will also tell you that this one, Morton and I did through Kindle Direct Publishing. Because all of my prior books have been either through a trade publisher or an academic publisher, and not one of them did diddly squat about marketing. And, when you put your heart and soul into a book, this is a small book, but I have some that are a lot more substantial. And when you've worked for a year on a book and the publisher says, yeah, that's a good book, and we'll put it in our catalog, and does nothing else. Wow. It's really annoying.
Well, sister, I'm here to tell you, we can do whatever you need to do to advertise and market this book or any other book. And then we can create, that's the joy. We're talking about technology in the book. That's what technology does. These publishers are either going to get on board or we're not going to use them, because there's ways for us to get what we need without having to go to the gatekeeper, right? Literally, yeah. I'm a prime example. I'm a talker. I have always wanted to do this kind of work of interviewing and having conversations, but I didn't have the education, and nobody was, and look, real talk, I don't look like what they really want, right? So I don't need you. I can do it myself. I got a technical background, so we can do that. We can set up something, and we can do a 30-second and run it and get you some sales.
But that sounds great. But Dana, everything you just said is so important, and that's why when the internet first came on the scene, I was so excited. But there is, as we now know, a dark side to this.
Absolutely.
And that is that the people who, like the former guy, and who listen to Fox News, and all of a sudden our information environment allows people to live in bubbles of their own construction. Mm-hmm. They go out and you really don't believe that men walked on the moon. I used to tell my students, if they really believe that the aliens landed in Roswell, I can find them 5 internet sites with pictures of the aliens.
Wow. Okay.
So we've all got to be our own curators.
Absolutely.
We all have to know who is credible and who is not.
And common sense ain't so common no more. That's what my mama used to always tell me, because some things people don't want to use their own common sense. They just believe what somebody else tells them. But let's get back to this book, because I'm excited about it. Talk about the research that went into creating and putting this book together.
Well, in my chapters and Morton's chapters are different. Morton has all the data on how many women work and how, there's a lot mm-hmm. of good data in here. I looked at the roots of misogyny, actually.
Okay.
And a lot of those roots are religious. So I took a look at where these notions of women's proper role actually came from. Mm-hmm. So the book discusses, I'll give you the chapter names and a brief description.
Okay, that sounds good.
The first chapter is just an overview of what's coming. The second one is patriarchy and the culture war. Mm. And that is a sort of deep dive into the primarily, but not exclusively, religious roots of misogyny and the belief that women are subservient or ought to be subservient to men. But there's also a recognition that, look, until we could control our own reproduction, women overall are not as strong as men. There are stronger women. Some women are stronger and some, but basically, and when back in the day when most jobs required physical strength and women were popping out babies, there's good reason why women were not able to compete with men in the workplace or in politics. And when you add to that religious doctrines that said women should be subservient, the man should run the household, and I want to make it very clear, there are several religions that were never like that.
Right.
So I've gone through, which ones to avoid.
Right.
But between the very real physiological changes and the fact that women could not control their pregnancy, people didn't, even when I was much younger and entered when I was in law school, people didn't hire women, or employers didn't, because if you were in childbearing years, they didn't know you're going to be pregnant next week and you're going to be gone. And, that there were sound reasons for that. And those reasons went away when women could control if and when they had children. So you could hire a woman who was in her fertile years and have some understanding that she could control.
She can plan. Yeah, she could plan.
Absolutely. And that I am absolutely convinced that the problem that so many men especially have with abortion and birth control, because birth control's on the mark too, is because they want women back in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. It is anti-woman. It is not pro-baby.
See, I don't know if I don't know what would have happened to me in a different time, in a different era. Even as a child who was born in 1970, I'm not like a millennial, I'm a Gen Xer. And I would have fits with my parents because they were trying to tell me how I should be as a female, but none of the things that they were telling me made sense to me, and it wasn't my thing. I never could understand why people, and mostly in this patriarchy that we're talking about, do not allow women to be the kind of woman they choose to be, not the woman that you think they should be. And that to me is, especially, forget I'm a masculine presenting woman on top of all of that, but I never understood that. And it actually permeates a whole lot of different things. Why does your perception of who I should be mean that I have to be that way? I don't know what I would have done in a different time, in a different era, where I couldn't do what was in my mind to do versus what you're telling me to do.
The other thing that is 1970, my God, you're a child.
Thank you for that. I'll take it. Happy birthday to me, 53.
But, the culture has moved on. And the people who want to push women back to the 1950s, to barefoot pregnant, all that, are fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
Because today, once a woman has said to herself, I'm going to be the woman I want to be, the woman I think I am, she's not going back. You're not going back. When I went to law school, people told me my children would all be on drugs.
Oh my God. What a horrible thing to say.
Yeah. None of it. Now, one went bad, he became a lawyer. But other than that, they're pretty good. No, it was so, I remember my sister's brother-in-law told me, "Why, you're taking the place of a man." When I went back to law school, he now has a daughter who's a lawyer. the society has moved on. And I am absolutely convinced that the people who are fighting this battle are fighting a rearguard action. But it's what you have been saying all along. It's what the Amy's said. Women have to get out there. We have to vote. We have to make sure that everybody is registered to vote.
Absolutely.
Because all of the data seems to show that these victories that Democrats and pro-choice movements are having are significantly because new people who have not previously voted have come to the polls. So we need to get out there and make sure that every woman we know is registered.
And you're not saying, like, for those women who want to be homemakers and want to,
that's fine.
you know, you're not saying it's anything wrong with it. What you're suggesting is let people be and do what they want to do.
Choice means choice. Maybe you want 15 kids. Fine. If you can afford it, go for it.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe you don't want any. If that's your choice, it's the bottom line is it's none of government's business.
Absolutely.
You get to make the choice of your life, what philosophers call your telos, the end goals of your life. That's not something for government to determine. It's for each individual to determine until and unless you are harming the person or property of someone else.
Absolutely. And then we see every year the Republican GOP all over the nation and at the federal level are introducing ways to not help families. They want to defund public education and privatize that. They want to privatize Medicare and Medicaid. They want to make it so that we have to. I actually am not. A lot of my Democratic people may feel some kind of way about it. They want to raise the retirement age for Social Security. Honestly, we're living longer. So I've met some 73-year-olds that are, you know.
There are legitimate
Yeah.
arguments
Yeah.
that we can make.
But they don't take care of the
Your
family.
goal is to help people. You know, my sense was back in the day, before you were even born, that the arguments tended to be, okay, how do we keep babies from starving? Well, if we do it this way, it's going to interfere with the market. Maybe we need to do it that way. Those are legitimate arguments. But today it's, well, let the baby die.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I have never seen this much meanness from a political party. I mean, it is appalling. And you're right. I mean, maybe it's time to raise the retirement age a little, although different jobs take different, you know. But
Right.
but that's an argument that rational, reasonable people can have. What is not a rational argument is let's get rid of Social Security.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of Medicare.
Or let's put it on the market because we know how well that goes every 8 to 10 years.
Next time I'm going to have a heart attack, I'm going to go shopping for my dog.
Oh my, and I don't even understand that philosophy. Like, you know, I don't understand why I have to search so hard to get medical care. Why do I have to do that? And oh, by the way, why don't we just get rid of the insurance companies while we at it? And let me just, you know, let me get billed directly from the doctor. Then I don't have to worry about the premiums. And then me and doctor can work out the payment arrangements. And he, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different ways on how we can be a better society that we just refuse to do it.
We are the only Western industrialized nation without national health care.
Yeah.
And I wrote about this last week on my blog. I mean, it's just, yeah, we are not number one. We are number 38 in terms of our outcomes. And we are number one in what we spend. I mean, the United States spends so much money on healthcare for such poor results.
Wow.
But anyway, that's a
deep dive
for another time.
Yeah, that's a deep dive. You know, Indiana's own Dana Black talking to Professor. Yes, the professor was here today. Sheila Kennedy, co-author of From Property to Partner, Women's Progress and Political Resistance. This has been an honor for me to sit. And I listen, real talk. You know, there are women who inspire me to do what I do. I like your guts. there are some women who, and not everybody is the same, and we get that. Like, not all personalities are the same. But I have to be honest and say, reading your work inspired me to say, I can write what I feel. I can write the truth. I can write. And so when I write in the Indianapolis Business Journal, every now and then the editor will come back and say, well, you can't call Michael Clark a liar. Okay. Fine.
But he is.
But he is, right? But I understood what she meant when she... I understood what she meant when she said, she was like, Dana, we can't call Michael Clark a liar. Really? Okay. Well, I mean, but guys, this is what networking with women and what we can do is all about. We had the Amy's on earlier talking about Hoosier Women Forward. Now we have a 10-time published author, Sheila Kennedy, who was teaching young people, molding young minds to be good law thinkers, to be good legal minds, talking to little old Indiana's own, and sharing the joy of writing. Guys, get her book. Get her book. And you know what? Don't let this be the last time we chat on Turn Left. I want to bring you back on. Let's chop it up. Absolutely. Let's chop it up sometime, because I would love to dive into, how you feel about the anti-CRT movement. I would love to know your thoughts on, the immigration. There's so many things I would love to talk to you about. We were focused on your book tonight, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share that. Tell the people again where they can find you. I know I put the link out there, but
it's on Amazon. Just if you go to me, just Sheila Kennedy, or if you go to From Property to Partner.
Right. Love it. Love it. Guys, Indiana's own Dana Black. Let me do a quick Bohm's Unique Boutique. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. I do love Bohm's Unique Boutique. Okay, now check this out, everybody. This is Big D weekend. This is Big Dem weekend. If you have your ticket to the HH dinner, I will see you there. But more importantly, you have seen the attacks in our LGBTQ plus community. You have seen how they have attacked trans youth. I mean, literally stigmatizing young people to the point of we don't know what, right? Where parents are going, what am I going to do? I've already started gender affirming care for my child. We may have to leave. So we at Indiana Stonewall Democrats, all we do is try to help elect more Democrats who are either LGBTQ plus themselves or are strong allies. And this weekend, if you have not already done so, if you're hanging out, you're coming to the HH dinner, just stay one more night and come on over to Cafe Patachou, where we will hear from the amazing former mayor of Houston, Texas, president and CEO of the Victory Institute and Victory Fund, another one of my groupie people, Mayor Anise Parker. She is going to talk about how we can empower ourselves in this climate of hate. She's going to give you the message that you need to not be in the closet, but to come on out and stand strong, even our allies. If you're an ally, I need you to stand beside me, not behind me. Stand beside me and let's go through it together. But the only way we can help these folks get elected is to raise money. And all of our contributions, every ticket that we sell, every sponsorship we sell at Indiana Stonewall Democrats will go towards our endorsed candidates. So please, if you haven't already, get yourself a ticket, and it's a good time. Right? You're going to have a good time Friday night, going to have a good time, and just be all about that Democratic love all weekend long. Guys, Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. This has been an awesome, awesome show. I hope you guys got as much out of it as I did. Sheila, I am going to see you in cyberspace. I'm going to keep stalking you.
That's great.
I just stalk your blogs. I stalk your blogs. Let me make that clear, because people be like, for real. Tune in next week. I'm not even sure who's on the show next week, but I got a show next week. But tune in where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. We're going to start gearing things up. We're going to get through the summer months, but these candidates still need your help. Every show is a fundraiser for you to help these candidates so that you can donate to them, okay? So Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. I will holler at y'all next week. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.